Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Kayak BASS Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Kayak BASS Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Kayak BASS Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation. Welcome to the Kayak BASS Nation.
Good job. I want you guys side by side, and we are ready. The question is, Fort Worth, are you guys ready? This is awesome. What a great kickoff to Friday's weigh-in. All right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to call out second place, and that's going to tell us who's going to take home the first ever Bassmaster BASS Nation Kayak Series powered by Tourney X. In second place with 208.75 inches is Joe McElroy, which means Mark Pendergraf with 209.25 inches from the state of Texas. It's going to be taken home
Mark
for the first time ever in
Pendergraf.
Bassmaster history, a kayak national championship powered by Tourney X. We're going to welcome out brand evangelist from Old Town, Ryan Lilly, to present the trophy in Fort Worth. Let's hear it for your first ever national champion here for the Kayak Series, powered by Tourney X.
There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. What do you think, Mark? I don't want to have Mark on here. What do you think, Ryan?
What a moment.
Yeah, what an epic moment. You had a front row seat for that and Joe
Possum
on the
King.
water. You were everywhere this weekend, or this week, last week. We got
right,
a big show
man.
for you guys
That's
tonight. We got the Possum King, the champ, Mark Pendergraf, and runner-up Joe McElroy. Both of them put a show on last week that we got to follow during the work week. I'm sure everybody was productive as could be those 2 days of the tournament. And then on Friday, of course, for the weigh-in. But what'd you think, Ryan? You were there. You just finished your Texas swing, Rayburn, then to Possum Kingdom. What'd you think of the whole show?
Dude, I'm exhausted, but I did like the timing of how, I could make one big trip out and knock out two tournaments. We already talked about Rayburn. It was great. It was a really good tournament. It fished really well as far as kayak setup. Then you get to Possum Kingdom, man, and it was what I expected Rayburn was going to be. Just flash floods and roads closed and high muddy water. Well, it wasn't high muddy water, but it was muddy water once it kind of settled back down into its banks. Possum Kingdom, apparently, it can't take much water, so they just open more gates and blow out whatever's below it. So the Brazos was pretty blown out below the dam, but you can tell by the numbers, if you found them, you found giants. Like, they're huge, huge fish in Possum Kingdom, and they really put on a show.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know if we'd seen anything like it earlier this year on Seminole. Those guys went back and forth, Brian Howell and Joey Vagno, and then this deal blew it out of the water. With
going back and forth at like 102 and 104 or something that's big, but going like 107 and 112, like that's a different level of swinging at the fence right there. It was crazy. Yeah, I was telling Mark, I was like, dude, I honestly, for like the first 45 minutes of day two, I didn't even make a cast. I just sat and updated Tourney X, just watching his freaking numbers shoot through the roof. Like it was crazy to see.
It was nuts. And you had a unique deal because you were following Mark, but you on the water, you had like a front row seat to what Joe was doing. You were fishing close by.
So we launched by Joe, and I talked to Joe that morning, Joe's having some drive issues, so called and made sure it was okay if we got him squared away. Got his stuff fixed, and then me and Josh Evans, we went way across the lake, and we fished around. It was pretty muddy, and we were, watching Mark smash fish. So nothing was happening. Our flat that was a real finesse bite, it got blown out pretty bad. It was chocolate milk, so they weren't biting good. And Josh was like, man, let's just go poke around up in this creek where we came from. So we went up there, and Josh Evans sticks his personal best, a freaking 23 3/4 monster. So he's yelling. I hear him yelling. I come all the way from across the creek, get over there, take some cool pics for him, whatever. And then Joe starts in. Then Joe's busting a 21 3/4, a 21. I'm like, damn, what is happening right here? So Joe hadn't posted much at that point, but I knew his fish were still there. So I tried to stay I don't know, within 600 or 700 yards. I was on the opposite side of the creek, but I tried to stay within earshot because Joe is a very animated, vocal guy when he's catching big fish. So as soon as I hear him yell, man, I would slam the torpedo and get back down there as fast as I could just to see what he'd gotten into.
Yeah, wild stuff, man. It was fun. And the other guys that finished, in third and fourth, we weren't sure because the leaderboard went off if Drew or Brad, who had great limits respectively, were going to make a push too. I mean, Drew had 100 on day one. We didn't know if he was going to catch up. So we were on pins and needles a little bit till Friday.
It really, man, I have no offense to the rest of the competitors, but watching Joe and Mark do that, it's like everybody else is fishing for third place. You knew it was going to be one of those two guys, just the quality of bags that they put up in the time frame that they did. It was pretty impressive. Yeah,
fun stuff. We're going to get those guys on here in a second, so we appreciate everybody that's on here from YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching from. Share this around a little bit. I'm sure folks are going to hear these fellas' stories. We're going to get them on here and talk to them in just a second. We wanted to touch on something real quick that happened on the page during the tournament, and we don't want to lose focus on what tonight's about, which is celebrating these guys. But some stuff got popped up on the KBN group page that had nothing to do with the two winners, really, that kind of took the focus off them last week. So I don't even know what to really say about that, except don't be that person. Don't do that. Don't try to take the focus away from winners for stuff that really doesn't matter in the outcome of the tournament,
And I mean, the bigger deal is that I think what we saw pop up was between two specific anglers, two grown-ups. In my opinion, I think it's up to them to kind of sort out what happened. And seriously, hats off to Jason Willis. He handled things wrong up front. He did, kind of got upset in the heat of the moment. He had a lot of things going wrong. There were a lot of kind of stressors, and he misinterpreted what was happening with Russ. And Friday, I got a phone call, an apology, a lengthy apology, explaining what had happened. I know that was not the right way to handle things. We all mess up. All of us do. Everybody does. You're going to be guilty of it at some point, but kind of having the backbone to be like, hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And not only did he call myself, Russ, he called, Christine, Dwayne, Patrick. He tried to, let everybody know that he was in the wrong and he wants to move forward from that. So good job, Jason. Thank you.
Good stuff. Yeah, I just don't. Some people took the vibe of, they were trying to start a fire, then play fireman, and then complain about the fire all at the same time, and we don't need that. So.
Correct.
Anyway, moving on to the celebration that was this week, and it was kind of a cool week because there was nothing else going on. I mean, Rayburn was over. It was Possum Kingdom. There's nothing else this weekend really to focus on, so it was all about those guys. Then the Classic. So we're excited to get them in here, talk to them about their championship. So what do you say? You want to take a break and get them in here?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back, y'all. KBN Live is brought to you by Western Sun Vodka. Western Sun Vodka is a 10 times distilled, award-winning, gluten-free vodka. They are independently owned and crafted in Pilot Point, Texas. All right, here we are. The Possum King, Mark Pendergraf and Joe Mcelroy, the champ and the runner-up. Thanks, gentlemen, for taking the time to join us, man.
Oh, anytime.
Outstanding.
Good to
Yes,
see you,
sir.
gentlemen, this afternoon.
Well, what a
Where
week.
you
I don't
at
even know
now,
where to start.
Joe? How far have you made it?
Right north of San Antonio. I'm going to be here for a couple of days, and then I've got a Alabama Bass Trail Derby over on the east side of Alabama Saturday. So I got to get back in the different boat mode.
Good
Keeping the
stuff.
roads hot. I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get this overlay fixed because there we go. We got to be able to see Mark's name, the Possum King, right there on the bottom left.
PK.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow,
He
that's
just.
great.
Oh my gosh.
We'd like to welcome you back to social media, Mark. The champ. It was odd timing on having your Facebook dropped.
I mean, when you use key phrases, obviously, Zuckerberg world don't like it very much, and they kick you off no matter what you got going on in your life.
You couldn't even status drop Possum King on him to get back, could you? It's
I
crazy.
couldn't even like a message if I wanted to.
Man,
Oh,
that's wild.
man.
That's wild.
But you survived.
I did. I came out a better man now.
Yeah. Who
Turn
do we
over
want
a
to start
new
with?
leaf.
Who do we want to start with, Ryan? The champ or the runner-up here?
Man, I honestly, since Joe laid the wood on day one, let's start with Joe, and then we'll kind of ramp it up, and then what happened when Mark busted out the big stick.
All right. Well, Joe.
Joe, tell us how your day one started.
Day one started in the search mode. I had caught some fish during the last day of practice on swim bait. And the water conditions in the cove that I was fishing was moderately clear compared to the rest of the lake. I had monitored the lake pretty much for 3 days and watched the mud line move its way toward the dam. And a lot of the places I thought I wanted to fish were blown out. In fact, when you got to PK after Rayburn, you and I met up on the road and got to witness the Caddo Creek out of its bank, blocking the roads, DOT shutting us down from getting access. And that pretty much summed up, my decision to not go there. So I stayed near the cliffs and started that morning. My ultimate goal was to fish a point where the flags are early, top water, try to catch a couple on top. And then I was going to skip the docks the rest of the day. I had been watching those docks all week. No one was skipping docks. And I had caught some good fish under those docks earlier. And I knew they were there and they were unharassed. The cables were a little bit of a problem to get around. Actually lost a good fish on a cable on the last day of practice. But all in all, my plan was pretty simple. Stay close, get in, fish around the docks, and hopefully, catch a limit. That morning, going out, pulled up on that point, and I thought, well, I'm going to start with a buzzbait around the rocks and a spook. Nothing happened. So I thought, well, crap, I'm going to go back in this cove, and there's a little cove. Went around, went back to back, some shallow lay downs, nothing. Came back out, went around the beach, started throwing swim bait, started catching fish. Driftwood custom swim bait, 5-inch version. Put a little chartreuse on it, and it was starting to work for me. The shad were kind of busting in that little pocket right there, and the striper had not moved in there at that point. They moved in day two, but they weren't there on the first day. And so that's kind of how I started. Once the swim bait bite died off, I started dragging a worm, a little Z-crawl, plum, Texas rigged, and went to work. And they were there. I don't know how many fish I caught day one. It was crazy. It was freaking
A lot.
Never
you caught a lot.
like
I'll say that.
Yeah, a lot.
I probably caught 35 fish on day one.
Let's see. Let me throw up your limit.
We came by. Well, we came by it was early. I want to say it was like noon or something when Josh and I came back in the creek, and I talked to Joe, and Joe had like 104 inches at that point, and Joe's like, what do I do, son? I've never been in this position. I was like, put your rod down. Like, you've got 104 inches. Like, go have a snack or something. I'm glad he didn't take advice now. but
Thank you.
Man, I think Joe said he threw back out and was just hanging. He was just hanging out there and then culled up another 2 inches or something right after that. I mean, right after that conversation.
I truthfully was just trying to stay close to the flagpole, if that makes sense, and kind of run the clock out.
So rumor has it you were fishing pretty close to where you were staying. I mean, pretty close to the ramp or where you were staying. Is that right?
300 yards from the ramp, 340 yards straight line to where my balcony was at the condo. I had a front row seat for every swinging kayaker that came through, and I didn't have to practice as much. I knew that nobody was catching fish from what I could see. I just knew I had caught fish under those docks, and that's where I was going to go fishing. Nobody, it blew me away. I bet you 50 kayakers came through on day 3 of practice, and nobody stopped to skip a dock.
How about that? That's
the
wild.
Case came through.
Well,
the duck. See,
I wish it would have.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Duke.
They didn't. And Duke, yeah, on day 1 of practice, Duke was across the cove. Yeah, Deuce, Duck. Great guy, by the way. I didn't know who he was. I saw him fishing down the bank, and he was in a pocket and had a spotting scope. I had a 70-power spotting scope. I felt like I was on a forward operating base up on a mountain somewhere in Afghanistan. But I watched him, and I saw him set the hook on a fish. So I took my iPhone and I put it right up on the lens, and I videoed him landing that 24-inch fishing tackle.
Dang, freaking sniper up there.
And he did, and then showed him the video at the captain's meeting through his scope.
He like his eyes got this big, and he looked at me like, "What the crap?" It was cool. Don't be thinking I ain't looking.
So that may be a new pre-fishing strategy, guys. So you don't
I'll be looking at you.
Up on people. You can just get a spotting scope, mount on your kayak, and watch where people are catching them.
I'm sitting here thinking of lacrosse here in a few months. There's a lot of high ground at lacrosse. I may just get up on the side of some of the overlooks and snipe people. I don't know.
I'll show you the technique, buddy. I'll show you how it's done.
All right. Well, Mark, let's talk about your day 1 for a second, because it was a slightly different story, right?
Yeah, very, very different. Well, it kind of started off the same as his, and then he found him in the late day. But yeah, slightly different. I actually launched, and I had a point right outside the marina that I launched at, and I had caught some good fish there in practice. Caught a 5-pounder right in front of Brad Case on, I think it was Monday, and chatted with him for a little bit, and then I took off somewhere else to go look around. But there was no fish there that morning, and I decided to bail out, and I went all the way to Hell's Gate. There's just tons of bluff walls in there, and I ran around Hell's Gate first day of the tournament from I think I got there about 7:38, and I just ran all through Hell's Gate, and it was good enough to pick up 4 fish. And the Old Town boat came by about 12, took a picture. I caught they came in, and I was in a little creek, and I didn't catch anything while they were there. They're like, "All right, we'll catch you later." I was like, "Well, bye, I suck." And they turned around to leave, and I went to this little bluff wall that was at the front of that little creek, and I popped a 17 3/4. I was like, "Y'all left too early. Come back." And I told myself, I was like, "Man, I got 4 fish. It's almost 12:30. I'm going to just head out of here. I'm going to go back towards the boat ramp and fish around that area until it's time to go home." I was like, "There's no way I'm going to land a top 30 finish to cut a check." I was like, "I'm just going to hang out over there so I can get my boat loaded up quick and get to dinner, the bar, or wherever I plan on going." And got to the boat ramp, and it's a thing here in Texas, I guess. We fish the boat ramp. I'm known for doing it. I will always finish out a day on a boat ramp if I can. You can always at least cull up 1 fish or finish a limit usually. And I made a cast. Sorry, I'm really hoarse from all the
You're good, man.
hanging out this week. But got to the boat ramp and made a cast, and caught a striper. I was like, well, that was pretty cool. See what's else there. Caught 2 more sand bass. I was like, well, this is gonna be a good 30 minutes to the end of my day. I'm just gonna sit here and murder eating fish. And I made a cast, and my rod kind of hung up on me, and it went left. And I caught a 19-inch bass. And I was like, well, we got all 3 of them here. So I cast back to the same spot and did it about 20 more times, and went from having 4 fish for 57 to calling out all 4 of those in the last 30 minutes, putting up 97 inches. So
unbelievable.
That's great.
So 97 inches, but tell us why it wasn't 99 inches.
So I don't claim to be an extremely smart person electronically
I'm not a
or
smart
any
man.
other way. But on the iPhone 11, the older ones, if you hold the camera button too long, it takes 1,000 pictures. On the new iPhones, you hold the button, it takes a damn video. So I did that 4 times in a row without knowing it. And I called Dwayne, and I mean, I'll say this for Dwayne and Patrick and Bass. They did everything they could for me to try and get this 20.5-inch fish submitted into the tournament. And I emailed the video. I screenshot my phone with the location and time. But because they couldn't pull a picture out of that video with the location and the timestamp, they're like, you can't use this fish. I'm sorry. And it is what it is. I get it. There's rules in the tournament. It's got to be there. And I told Dwayne and Batch the same thing. I was like, I ain't mad at y'all. I mean, I'm not the one who knows how to use my own damn cell phone. So, but yeah, I landed 97 instead of 99 on
Oh,
day
man.
So.
Well, if you would have took a picture of that, it wouldn't have made the weigh-in quite as interesting because the final margin was only, I think, a half inch or a quarter inch. So
Half inch.
yeah.
Half inch.
Now imagine if you'd have lost by half an inch with that video. That really would have haunted your dreams.
Yeah, I told Dwayne in a joking manner when I was leaving the Chamber of Commerce Wednesday night to go meet up with Ryan and drink that 2-inch sorrow away. That I was like, it's all good. I'm still your friend. I ain't mad at you. Rules are rules. I was like, but if this 2 inches screws me, we're going to be having a different conversation about it.
It almost did. It almost did.
Man. Joe,
but
go ahead, Ryan.
To that point, Joe, tell us about your deduction and your fish through the drive hole. I mean, this is why we always talk about, to win one of these big ones, you have to do everything right, because stuff like this on both sides, I mean, this could have gone either way very easily.
Yeah, on day 2, my wife had come down to the little point with a camera to kind of take pictures of me, for family albums and things, and
hero shots. You got to get the hero shots.
Exactly. So I had pulled my Mirage rod out, and it lay on the back of my kayak because all it was doing was causing me problems. So I caught a fish, 22.5-inch fish, had on my board laying, and it was calm, laid on the board. I went, God, this is the first fish to cooperate. I grabbed my camera, got it right up over the fish, taking a picture, and it flopped and down through the hole.
No way.
Way in my life.
Oh, no.
Left the exit right. Yep. She went right through the hole. My wife, I've got the pictures. They're absolutely classic because I've got my head between my arms and I'm just bent over looking down in the hole. And she yelled at me. She said, "Did you lose that fish?" Yep, gone. That was one of the 2 big that got off. I lost a freaking giant. Dumped twice. Came barreling toward the kayak. I was sitting in 35 feet of water all day long, throwing up on the beach and on the rocks, and set the hook. Fish did his little acrobatic deal. Came straight toward the kayak, and I'm thinking, I can't slow him down. He started under the kayak, and I took my rod around the tip of the kayak. When I did, the line wrapped over my rod tip, locked it in place, and that fish snapped that 16-pound braid, but the fluorocarbon just like that. He was gone. He jumped 6 or 8 times around me with my worm hanging out of his mouth, just going, "I'm over here." Yeah, it's one of those days.
Ryan, weren't you nearby? Didn't you say you saw that one and it was like an 8-9 pounder maybe?
What's that?
Didn't you say you were close enough to see that one jump or no?
I wasn't. That was Josh Evans and
Josh.
Fish Factor. I think they were in the area when that went down. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Josh is in the comments. He said that was a giant. Crazy.
Mike with Fish Factor videoed the whole deal, the whole thing, and he videoed that fish jumping around us there. He was well over 8. Could have been 10. He would have been a special addition to the leaderboard for sure, but not this time.
Wow. Well, let's jump to day 2, guys. I mean, obviously, I think you just went right back to the honey holes on day 2 to both spots, right? Except Mark, you didn't waste your day running around Possum Kingdom on day 2, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. 25 yards from the ramp and put the spot lock on.
Did anybody else launch with you?
Yeah, I had a couple people out there with me. I had Pro Neighbor and Justin Faircloth, and there was another gentleman. I can't remember his name. It was him and his wife that were there. And he went fishing all day, and I'm pretty sure she put about 6,000 steps in around that marina because she had her Hobie on the trailer along with his, and she didn't get to go out, so she looked pretty mad.
Was she the lady that posted like the ramp, like dropped the pin, like in the middle of the tournament?
I was going to try not to bring that up, but yeah.
That was hilarious. If anybody's looking for Mark catching 112 inches, he's right here.
Yeah. So I've never had a spot for somebody to burn. And that got sent to me in a private message. And they're like, "Hey, somebody posted this, and are you the leader?" I was like,
man.
"Yeah, that's right where I'm sitting." So,
Unbelievable. Oh, somebody
luckily
said
it only took you like an hour to have your 100 million inch limit, so that's not too bad.
No.
So as those people came back to the ramp, did anyone bother you, or did they just kind of sit and watch the show? Nobody tried to come in on you. Anything, right?
Nobody tried to move in on me. I meant to mention about day 1, but old Justin Faircloth, when I got back to the ramp, he was in the area, and I didn't have a net on my boat that day. And I don't know why, because I knew I was going to be throwing things with a lot of hooks on them, and I just left it in the trunk, and I'm probably going to blame that one on Ryan. But,
got to, man. Everybody else does.
He kept me out way too late the night before, but Justin on day 1, for that last 30 minutes, he sat right there with me and just witnessed complete 30 minutes of madness, to the point one time I believe it was the 20.5 that they didn't accept, but I started pulling her up and realized she only had one hook in her mouth. And from about 10 to 20 yards away, I was like, "Hey, throw me your net." And he didn't hesitate. He picked it up and threw it at me. So I'm over there like catching nets and holding fish, and it was a good time. But on day 2, man, everybody was real polite. They kept their distance. I talked with Pro Neighbor in the morning. Ryan, what's his real name? I'm drawing a blank.
Old Daniel up there.
Daniel. That's right. And so he had left that ramp at noon on day 1, and before he pulled out, he caught a fish on that ramp on a drop shot, a good one, about 20 inches. And I didn't know if he had planned on fishing the boat ramp that morning, so I politely told him. I was like, "Hey, man, I know you caught a fish here yesterday." I was like, "I'm just going to let you know I'm not leaving this ramp. So we can share water." He goes, "Nope, I'm leaving." I was like, "All right." And then everybody left me alone there day 2. I talked. It was actually really boring because I've never sat on one spot all day. It's just not how I fish. And so I was there by myself. I think the camera boat showed up about 7-something, and Old Town got there later in the day. But all I had to talk to were the marina people. The employees started showing up. People were walking, and I was just sitting there catching fish, so they'd stop and chat with me. So it was a good time. I at least had people to talk to keep me sane.
Now, Joe, you had a little more traffic over in your area on day 2.
Yeah, I was a little concerned because everybody that fished that area knew where I was sitting on day 1, and so I I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2:30 thinking, Lord, how am I going to get to that spot with my Mirage issues? And it's only 300 yards. And the day before, everybody blew out of there. There was a lot of folks that went out of there on day 1 with their torpedoes, and they flew out of there. I mean, heck, they were out Main Lake before I got to the point on day 1. I'm like, I figured when I turned the corner that in my mind all night long, I figured I could see myself turning the corner to look at my point and to be that many kayaks sitting there, like everybody. But there was no one there. I got there within 7 minutes. I started marking fish on my electronics. I had schools of fish in 3 or 4 different areas within 100 yards, and I just, was so thankful. It was very calm. I pulled up by the American flag, took my hat off, turned on the Pledge of Allegiance, and listened to the Star Spangled Banner, said a little prayer, sat down, and got busy. That's what I did. The Lord put me there for a reason, and I had a job to do, so I got busy doing it.
You sure did.
And Ryan, didn't you play field mechanic?
Ooh.
Yeah. Joe was telling me about his drive issues, so I reached out to Dwayne and Patrick to make sure it was cool if I A, fixed tried to fix his drive, or B, gave him my drive, and we got his turned around back straight. I got over next to the bank and got out about chest deep in the water and crawled up under there and got him straightened out. And that's when Joe made the decision to pull his drive out, which turned out to be costly. But we got it straightened back out anyways. It was windy. I mean, I could definitely see why that thought process went through his head, because it's almost as much of a pain to only try to adjust yourself going forward as it is just to paddle anyway. So sorry, Joe. Sorry if that was what cost you that fish.
No, man, it's all good. I mean, I was paddling, the wind was blowing, and I was paddling to keep that 14 in position to make the right cast. With that wind howling around that point, it was blowing me in circles. But I would paddle up there, get in position, put the paddle away, start casting, make 2 casts before it blew me back, and then I had to paddle back up there. And thank God lunch money came along, helped me out.
Lunch money. He's usually taking lunch money, but he was giving out mechanic stuff.
I was in such a good mood Sunday. I was in such a good mood. Like Josh catching that big fish, Joe being on them. Like, I mean, I don't know, dude. I was in a good place. And then after the tournament, old Fish Factor throws in while Joe's uploading his fish and freaking hooks that 25 and gets it up there, and he pulls out this little minnow net trying to net this thing. And I was like, this ain't going to work, bud. So the fish is caught up in the net, and I was like, here, let me get it. And I got the last 20 inches of the fish in my net. It was wild. I've not had more fun in a tournament, in the actual tournament, than being a part of all that. It felt like every 5 minutes somebody was hooping and hollering somewhere. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about that later, the lake in general, everybody was just blown away by the lake, watching it from afar, begging for more tournaments to go there. They hope maybe another bass event or BOS or whoever goes there sometime, just because of the show you guys put on. Everybody wants to go there for a tournament now.
There had to be a dozen or more 24-inch plus fish caught between pre-fishing and the tournament. I mean, it was insane.
Oh, yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the lake wasn't even in optimal condition, right, after the rain.
No. When PK gets dirty, those fish usually shut down and they don't want to play no more. And I guess the fact that it wasn't just they actually had current pulling on this lake and it hadn't just settled dirty. Man, they just took those fish, stuck them all in one spot, and they still wanted food. And they still ate.
Got some good comments rolling in. Trying to get them on the screen for you guys.
And so we went through the end of Mark's day too. Obviously, it ended a little quicker for Mark. I mean, Mark had kind of a flurry and just beat him up quick. Joe, you had a little more of a grind on it, and this was a continual, plug along just to get the limit that you did. Tell us about how your day finished up there on day 2.
Well, around noon it slowed down. Fish, Mike with fish. What's his little website to call Fish
Factor.
Life?
Fish Factor. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he sat there with me for 2.5 hours. No, Fish Factor. He sat there with me for 2.5 hours. We were talking. I said these things have slowed down a lot, and he felt like I'd caught them all. And I said, no, they just aren't here right now. They'll be back. And I never moved. I stayed right there. And I had about 4 different angles on that point that produced fish for 2.5 days. And I stayed with them, and it was grind. I finally started catching some other types of fish, caught a big catfish, stripe. But finally,
I heard about that striper story.
That stripe, man. It was we were sitting there. He had just caught a fish and he was hooping and hollering, and I ran back over with a torpedo, and all of a sudden Joe's rod about flies out of his hand, and myself and Mike both get our phones out and we're videoing like, this is it. This is the fish that puts him over the top, and he fights it and it's pulling drag, and he gets it up there and it's a striper. And we were like, oh, throwing the phones in the water. We thought we had just caught history on camera right there.
I'm sorry I disappointed you, that's for sure.
Yeah, Ryan, you were in kind of another. I mean, you and Mark are good friends. You and Mark are good friends, and then you know Joe as well. So you kind of had a front row seat for Joe, and then you're pulling for Mark to win at the same time. You were in a no lose situation as a fan and a friend.
That's
right?
what I was saying. I'm like, can both of them win? Like, this is nuts. Like, me and Mark hang around and hang out all night and go to pool halls and throw cornhole and talk trash all the time. And then I've got like Pawpaw Joe here who's out here with a broke drive, freaking smashing 20s. And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know how this is going to play. I wish they could just do a duel or something for it and settle it that way.
So
Joe would win that one. No offense, Mark, but
Joe's a professional Scott. He's got it. When it came down
to
I'd probably just give up.
That's awesome. See, let me throw the leaderboard back up. I want to know one thing. Bass had that round table thing at the end of day 2. Obviously they didn't announce the winners until Friday. So you guys did the round table. Everybody was talking around the table. Did y'all stay tight-lipped until the trophy presentation? Or did you guys kind of know?
I didn't even really say anything at the round table, nor was I really asked to. And Joe didn't really get to talk much either, so I think it was more of Bass giving the other guys a chance to talk and kind of pushing us off, knowing what might have happened. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't really get to say much at the round table.
But between the two of y'all didn't do the math with each other and figure it out? You just kind of waited to see?
No.
Joe, I want you to weigh in. Joe, you weigh in on this, and then I'll tell them the real truth.
Well, here's the deal. I was on the water. I hadn't really thought about it too much, to be honest with you. But Ryan was on the water, and he was like doing the math, and he's going like, "Man, this is close." I said, "Really?" I did. I had no idea, and he said, "Yes, He says it's real close, and so I just said, "Well, I need to catch another fish. Just need another upgrade." Never came, but I gave it all I had. But I really had no idea it was as close as it was, to be honest with you. I had heard what kind of morning Mark had, and I just said, whatever happens, I've had the best experience here of my life. God put me on this little spot, told me to stay here, and that's what I did.
I sat and watched all this play out, and I didn't know if Mark had called up again or not. And Joe is old school now. Joe has like a little booklet that he writes down in red marker every fish that he catches and the links. And there's some sort of code that where you can decode if he submitted his fish or not. I couldn't figure that part out. So we're talking at the end of the day, and I'm looking at this book, and I'm trying to add stuff up, and I'm like, I mean, I thought it was within like a quarter inch or a half inch either way because I wasn't sure what he had, what he had and what had been submitted. And then, I told Mark, I was like, man, I'm going to try to get back home to this tournament on Chickamauga. If you want to meet me in Fort Worth, I'll take you to dinner, and we'll go out and if you win, it's a celebration. If not, it's a celebration for second place. So we're sitting there at Billy Bob's at this table, listening to this concert. Shout out to Albert for hooking us up with a table there at Billy Bob's. But
There you go, Albert.
Mark's like, he has this like look at this angst on his face, and I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, dude, I'm kind of nervous. He's like, I don't know. I don't know if I got this or not. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know either. And I didn't. And I'm like, what, I would hate to be like, yeah, Mark, you got it. And then we're wrong. So everybody all night's just kind of like, all right, good job for maybe winning, Mark. Like, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that was wild. The momentum was with Mark. Obviously, everybody was kind of congratulating him late Thursday, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I know Joe was catching him late. This thing is nerve-wracking, and I think you could tell the emotions on the stage were real, that you guys were, were shocked with the finishes.
Oh,
definitely. I mean, I know I had a wild morning, popping off a 9-pounder first thing. My nerves were shot at that point and shaking everywhere. And then to proceed to I caught a couple small fish and then just cull everything out completely except for the 24. I mean, that was insane. But I knew Joe was on fish, like on good fish. Nobody puts up 107 inches in day one and then he caught fish in the morning that he had posted. I was like, well, he's back on his school. If I do win this, I mean, he's going to have to not finish out 100 inches. He has to get 103 to beat me. And I knew he had all possibility of doing it. And the last time I looked at the leaderboard was about 10:30 in the morning. And he was moving on up the ranks. And, man, I was a nervous wreck for 2 days. My emotions, I'm not typically an emotional person, but I've never felt feelings like that before. And it was just all over the place. It was nuts.
All right. Clifton's got a question for you, Mark, and if you can see it on the screen. Are you the new standard in Texas? Please be cocky with the answer.
If you rely on fishing by luck, yeah, you can call me the new standard in Texas.
I'll take it.
There's way too. I won one big tournament, guys, and I won the right tournament. But there's so many good sticks here in Texas that can wax me any day of the week. No, I'm not a new standard, but I think I'm going to hold my one-day record for a while. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what.
I like this tournament. I like the way that it's set up. What just happened?
We good?
Monster.
I don't know. I think we're good.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, you got no sound, Ryan. I don't know why, because you're not muted. Try and leave and come back to the stream and see what happens.
Your mouth's moving, but it ain't no sound, brother.
I'm going to unmute you. Try that. How's that, buddy? No?
I mean, it's all for the best, Ryan. I don't like his voice anyways.
No, he'll come back in. He'll leave and come back in. So why don't you both, I mean, Joe, you can tell us, since Mark just answered that question, how did it feel up on that stage in that arena with the lights and everything going on? Was that kind of a surreal feeling up there?
Absolutely. I've been around Bassmaster Classics a lot over the years. I've been out with cameras taking pictures of the professional fishermen being on that stage, just their dreams coming true. And I've watched Jordan Lee win 2 classics. Jordan's a kid that Well, he's not a kid anymore, but someone that I have a lot of respect for. Grew up in Coleman fishing tournaments with him over the years. Him and his brother Matt. Just being around the classic, but getting on the stage is totally different. You look out there and you see the fans, you see the cameras, and you've done something special. The fact that this was the very first classic where the kayaking anglers were being front stage was awesome. And being there myself, I tell you, I'm one of the older guys probably that's competing, but I have a passion, and being there was wonderful. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hey, yeah, welcome back. I'm going to follow up to something Ryan said before or during the tournament. That is it true that your bass boat was the very first boat Jordan Lee ever fished off of, or something to that effect? Joe?
No. What happened was Jordan Lee's very first classic on Lake Conroe in 2017. His boat broke down, a lot like my situation at PK. Jordan's boat broke down. I had been marshal for 4 days on Championship Sunday. I had my boat there, and I went out with my cameras to follow Jordan around and take pictures. He was in 15th place. We had talked before takeoff, told me where to meet him. I met him at a bridge, and his boat broke down at that bridge, so he had to idle to one point. He stayed on that point all day long, fishing a stretch, maybe 70 yards, 75 yards long, back and forth all day long. Absolutely a reflection of what I did. And when it came time to go in, he had to put his fish in my boat, in my weigh sack, because nobody had a bag, and he came in my boat. So I hauled him in his very first classic win.
Wow.
27-pound sack. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome story. Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah, my daughter was trying to FaceTime me, and if I don't answer, then she calls 40 more times. It's a little trick she does.
What about when you call her? Does she pick up right away?
No, she never picks up at all. So it's really clever.
That's how that goes. It's a double standard for shower.
Yep.
So after the event, you guys stayed at the expo. Did any of you guys talk to any of the folks that were casual, bass fans that kind of heard about the limits you guys put up at the kayak side of things? Anybody aware of what went down or ask you guys anything about that?
I actually, on the last, yesterday at the expo, I ran into a couple people. They're like, dude, that was insane. 112 inches, Tony X record. That's great. But there wasn't a lot of people that equated what we put up inch-wise to weight-wise. And once we explained it, they were in awe of what happened because the top two guys put up bigger sacks than the pros did in 3 days. I mean, not to take anything away from Hank Carey or any of them, but, I mean, to run 70, 80 pounds in a 2-day kayak tournament, I find that pretty interesting compared to what they did. But the head PR lady, I got to meet her Friday or Sunday backstage. I'm tired. But I met her backstage as all of them were rolling through. I was sitting there taking pictures and talking to all the pros. And she came up, she goes, how much weight do you think you put up? And I was like, well, probably 70 to 80 pounds, somewhere in there. I mean, I wouldn't put it past really 80. She goes, do you realize the amount of weight you caught in a tournament? I was like, well, I understand it. I can do math. But I was like, I fished 6 years of kayaks. Everything's by length. So when I catch a big fish, it's just a really big fish to me. It's not something to write home about, but I would like a 12-pounder here soon.
The new standard from some people that were commenting on you guys' events is we measure them in feet now, not inches. So
yeah,
might be the way to start.
And Mark,
it'll sound better if you tell a dude.
You had the guy that we met at Billy Bob's on Thursday night that actually came to watch Mark's weight. This guy, random guy, came up talking to us, hanging out at the bar Thursday night, and asked for autographs. And I was like, this guy's got a good shot at winning the big trophy tomorrow. And he was on the floor banging on the fence to get Mark's attention after he won it. That was so cool.
He actually he found me on Facebook and actually messaged me yesterday, and I think we're going to hook up. He's not. I mean, I don't want to put anybody's business out there. He's just in a tough situation in his life right now, and I got a couple extra kayaks laying around, so I'm going to run one of those kayaks to him, and that way he can at least get on the water. It's an easy to carry kayak. He can rooftop it on the car that he has.
That's
that
awesome,
way he can
man.
get on the water.
That's good stuff. You created kayak fishing's first fan, Mark, I think.
I've never had fans, but walking around the expo and having my last name yelled was mind-boggling. Still hadn't settled in, but it was really neat to experience all this.
There was something else I wanted to bring up from day 2 from the weigh-in stage, which made me feel like I was cutting onions there towards the end of the thing. And that was when they awarded Joe the second place check. This was after David had come up and shared a story about his son, JT. Jason, I'm sorry. Jason, yeah, about his son, JT, and the disease he was fighting, and asked for some help there. And for Joe to just out of the blue step up and donate his winnings to that family and that cause, what an emotional moment that was. Joe, what led you to do that? Were you planning on doing that, or just something that hit you and said, I'm doing that, or what? Look at that hat right there. That's awesome, Mark.
That's great. I came to Possum Kingdom to fish, have a good time, make memories. I had no idea it would end up like it did. And I truly give God all the glory. And he uses me to help others in my walk through life. And after Jason got up there and got his 7th place award, it was just like the light went on. I knew what I was going to do. I didn't care if I won first place. I intended to give him whatever I earned that day, because it never was mine to begin with. And so for me to do that, it came from the heart, and I was honored to do it, guys. And I can tell you, since that moment, the outpouring in our kayak family has been unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable gesture.
So we were talking about that in our group chat, and I'm like, we need to put together some sort of KBN charity tournament. So I'm going to go ahead and put that out there now. Y'all can drop it in the comments, kick around some ideas. I don't care if it's live, online, monthly, whatever you want to do. I just want to get some attention and get some help, toward this cause. And Mark and I, when I took Mark out, we were hanging out with some of my friends from Nashville, some of the Mossy Oak guys, some of the Hook, like the guys that run Hook. And one of the gentlemen that was there, he's a businessman from Utah, has nothing to do with fishing at all. He was very concerned about Mark winning this tournament. He came, Dusty came running up. He's like, did he win? Did Mark win? Did Mark win? I'm like, yeah, he did it, man. But then I told him the story of what Joe did. And, dude, he teared up and like we all did. And he's like, whatever y'all need, I'm in. Put together a charity tournament, I'm in. Send me the link, send me wherever the money needs to go. So, we're getting a lot of support for it, and I think it's a great cause. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. In the comments, we got
now.
Yeah. We got Dwayne saying he'll host it. Steve Fields is in to support it. I think anybody's in to support it. So it's going to be amazing.
I think an online tournament would be really good for that. It would reach nationwide. Disadvantage of that is that money would run through Venmo or something. If there's a way we get that money so Uncle Sam doesn't have to stick his hands in that crap and that can all go to JT, would be awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll figure out a way. Are there any underworld accountants in our group? Let us know that we can try to hide that money.
I'm sure there are plenty, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my wife works Fidelity. We can figure it out.
No, that was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen happen on a weigh-in stage. On top of just the grandeur of the trophy given away to Mark, and then for Joe to follow it up with that donation. I mean, unbelievable. And then if you saw on the page, there was a huge outpouring of support to SaveJT.com. There's links in the comments now. And I think a lot of people started pouring on top of that. So we'll keep that snowball rolling.
If
while
they
we
can't
can.
see it, there it is. SaveJT.com.
Where'd you get that hat? You buy it on their website? Or
No, Jason gave it to me, my wife, and my nephew. He's got his right there.
All right.
I ran into Jason on, I think it was Saturday. And he's like, hey, would you like a hat? I was like, yeah. I was like, how much are these though? They're free. If you would just wear it. And I told him, I was like, I'll at least if I can at the time, I'll wear it in the podcast that I do. I'll definitely mention it. So I'm gonna find a way to keep it in every video screen that I get to appear on, and make sure him and his little boy get taken care of. And I got to meet JT, and he's a handsome little dude. So anything we can do for them would be awesome.
There it is.
I like it.
Joe's looking fly in that hat.
Yeah, he is. They're good hats, man. They didn't waste any scratch on them.
This look like it's from California yet? Let's see here.
Oh no.
Yes, sir. That's awesome.
Let's keep this rolling, guys. It's a worthy cause. A great family. Got to meet JT at the expo. It's unbelievable. Let's make sure this doesn't stop. There may be others that need help too, but we're a big family. We got big hearts, and let's make this happen, okay?
Yes, sir. I love it.
Sure.
I love it. Everybody in the comments, of course, supporting that cause. Dwayne Wally had a good idea. Said maybe we can drop it directly into Jason's PayPal, like a friends and family thing, and just get a roster for the tournament after the fact. So we'll figure out a workaround on that.
I did see a comment pop up from Clifton that he threw up on the screen so we could see it, that he had asked about the bar we found at Possum Kingdom and asked if it was as good as the one on Fork. And we started out at Boondocks for the first couple of nights, and it's a great little place. They got good food until their AC goes out, and then it's just an unbearable place. And if you're a really good customer, they let you drink in the cooler. We decided we didn't want to do that. I think we struck gold on Wednesday night. We ended up at a little place called like PK Sports Lounge or something. And man, we walked in and I signed Ryan up for a pool tournament that he didn't even know he was going to play in. And we asked if we could bring our cornhole boards in, because that's what we do. We drink and play cornhole. Typically Ryan kicks the crap out of me. I'll get lucky every now and then. But they're like, yeah, bring them in. We brought them in and literally moved their tables out of the way so we could play cornhole. They let us play all night. It was a good time.
Was that prior to day two?
Yeah. That was prior to day two. I got home about 1 o'clock in the morning.
So I ended up in like the finals of the pool tournament. I lost on the 8-ball like a clown, and we leave there at like 12:30. And then when I'm looking at Mark's limits popping up, I'm like, there's no freaking way. Like we literally, we'd been home for like 4 hours before it was time to go fish. It was real. It turns out it was real.
And that was Sunday night to Wednesday night. Actually, it was Sunday night to Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday is the only night I haven't been out.
Unreal.
I'm proud of you, Mark.
Thanks.
Yeah, me too, Mark.
Instant legends, both of you.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Man,
I think both of you got instant legend status on KBN. So
for sure, that was a battle. That was a battle.
I'm gonna tell you this: Joe gives some good hugs, man. That was one of the best hugs I ever had when he gave me on stage. He damn near squeezed the air out of me.
Joe tear you up on a hug, man. I don't know what it is with Joe.
He's a good hugger. He does all right, man.
That's good stuff. You guys are awesome, man. It's been an unbelievable night. Great interviews. Anything else you want to add before we let these guys get out of here and get some rest, Brian?
Overall, just a review of the event. It was a great event. Patrick and Dwayne worked really hard. Patrick, man. So getting into the Classic to see the awards was such a headache, and we were having trouble figuring out which door to go in and what to do. And Patrick shows up at the door, sweating. He had been running around the building trying to get all of us in there to be able to watch, history be made. So hats off to that. And I hope that this continues to grow. And what we've been talking about, I would love to see Bass maybe do a get together before the kayak awards, so you have all the kayakers together and get everyone in at one time around the stage, get everything set up, do the awards, and then roll us right back out. I think that would be awesome to build numbers, so there's a lot of kayak anglers there to watch, but also to make it easier on bass security, so they're not having to worry about who's in, who's out, or whatnot. But seeing that stage, seeing Mark hold that trophy up, it was awesome. Like that's worth anything that you could give up in life to see Mark do that.
I'll tell you what.
On that note, if I could swing it in real quick, holding up the trophy is great. Getting to see my family go nuts up there. My dad was there, my wife, my son, my nephew. Seeing them go crazy was great. But what really got my attention was all the DFW fans that showed up and the guys from the tournament. That when I walked out on that corner, I've never seen Guillermo really act out of place. He's usually a very professional person. And I lifted up that trophy and my eyes looked down and all I see is this dude with long hair and a beard just jumping around like he's having a conniption fit. And I think that set my emotions even worse off from there, to see friends of mine that have been with me for the last 6 years doing all this.
He did 4 or 5 toe touches, I'm pretty sure. I didn't realize he had that kind of flexibility. It was crazy.
You done got G outside himself, Mark. Way to go, man.
He was, man. He was going off.
Just to see everybody down there and how excited they were that the kayakers were on the stage and we were getting recognized. Huge shout out to everybody that supported all of us and actually came to the weigh-in for the top 10. That speaks volumes in our sport.
Hey,
by the way, another story. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
Brad Case. So I didn't realize this. Brad Case was really catching some fish great on day 2. Apparently, he rolled up on Clint, and Clint's like, I've only got 3 fish or whatever. Brad Case cut his lure off and gave it to Clint and was like, here you go. This is what they're eating. Catch them. Like, who does that? That's crazy. Hats off to Brad. And congrats on your 3rd place finish as well, Brad.
I thought you were going to say he cut his butt. No, never mind.
Hell yeah.
No.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I wanted to compliment all you guys, because watching that live stream and trying to get it to our page, I thought the kayak anglers, all 10 of y'all, handled yourselves like pros up on the stage talking to the guy. That's kind of a place where somebody could freeze up, but everybody was cool, calm, sounded like pros up there. So good on y'all up on stage handling all that.
And by the way, the I don't know what you call him, moderator, announcer, the announcer guy did so much better this year. So much better this year. Thank you. Good job.
Yeah, for sure. Mark or Joe, you guys want to thank any sponsors or do anything before we let everybody get out of here?
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, no, man, it won't take me but a second. Go ahead.
Everybody knows I run with Old Town. I wear it almost anywhere I can. One of the greatest boats out there. Joe, since you have drive problems and everything, we got a spot lock on it. It'll hold you in place. You don't got to worry about nothing. So, give us a call. We might be able to get you straightened out on that. But besides that, Excite Baits, Lloyd's been my first sponsor from the get-go. He makes some of the best soft plastics out there. He's got some square bills, and we've got some divers and other stuff coming down the line. It's super exciting for him. ALX rods, they're the ones that kept the fish on the line for me. And then Anglers Pro Tackle, I didn't really get them to give them a shout out on stage. I guess the nervousness got to me. I just kind of read my jersey. But Anglers Pro Tackle, there's their hat right there. They sold me my first kayak, and Rick and Patty are the ones that really helped me through the bass fishing stages of, you should probably stop throwing a spin caster and get yourself some bait casters.
Nope.
So, a huge shout out to Anglers Pro Tackle for, also being there with me since the beginning.
Outstanding. I'd like to give a shout out to Element Outdoors, new outdoor apparel company. They kind of got behind me a little bit this year. Before it was Realtree, and still got Realtree in my back. Curse. Anyway, just a big shout out to the man upstairs for really helping me make the right decisions. And I really appreciate everybody's support. It's been unbelievable. And I'm not sure I'll ever make the rock star status of much money and Mark, but I'm gonna for an old guy. I'm gonna milk it for all 10 boys.
I don't know. I think you're there. I think you're there, Joe. I don't
You
know.
knocked
I
it
think
out
you
of the
made it,
park,
Joe.
Joe. You knocked it out of the park.
Yes, sir.
Hammer, dude. You're a straight hammer.
All right. What do you say, Ryan? You want to wrap this thing up?
Done. Super proud of you
SaveJT.com.
guys. Super proud of you guys both. Seriously, I couldn't be happier. Thank you.
Unreal.
Thank you.
Unreal.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate
Unreal.
it so
All
much.
right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're going to wrap it up. See y'all next Monday. Congrats, fellas.
Thank you.
Carry on. Save JT.